My name is Brannon Dunn, and I'm running for City Council for the 2nd District. My race is about bettering the quality of life by focusing on the economic and social challenges affecting our city. But if you want to learn more about our city, you're going to have to go back almost 55 years ago, to 1958, when our city first established the urban service boundary. So our urban service boundary is a boundary around our urban city. And you hear a lot of talk about our current administration pushing to develop our urban area. And one of the most important parts of our urban areas is the urban core of our city, which Jim Gray says our city can't continue to grow if we continue to build within our urban core. So when we look at our urban core areas are mainly our inner city areas. So I heard a guy made a statement yesterday when they were talking about schools at our forum downtown at the Delta Forum about the schools. He said that bricks and mortar won't change our school systems. We give them a nice place for education, but the problems that exist within our school systems are bigger than the bricks and mortar. So we hear a lot of talk about revitalization. We hear a lot of talks about roads. We hear a lot of talks about trails and streams. And those are the bricks and mortars. We don't hear about the conversations surrounding the social issues that are affecting our community. Within this district, Booker T, for one. The test scores within that school, and that's the foundation. So when you have a child going to school, it's important for them to get a strong educational foundation. So when our schools are failing to give our children that strong educational foundation, their future and their success, that strongly, well, let me say that by giving them, with them not getting the strong educational system services that they need, they're not going to have too bright of a future. So that's why when you look at our grades and the levels of our children graduating, our graduation rates, you see that the black males in our city are graduating about 58%. 58%. So when you come out here and you drive up and down the street and you see the faces, a lot of people, that's all they do is drive up and down the street. So they see young people on the block hanging out. And that's what they are. They're young people. They're young boys. They're young girls. And when they're not getting that type of stimulation within the school system that they deserve and they desperately need to have a successful future, they start going out into the streets to get what they feel is important, which they don't know. So that's why my campaign is about bettering the quality of life, developing the partnerships within our schools that we desperately need. A lot of the people that interview me, they said that schools isn't a city council issue. You know, it's totally different, totally separate. But the children that are in the community that are going to these schools are my responsibility, regardless if I'm a council member or not. So in order to reach our children, we're going to have to start bettering the quality of education within our schools by developing the partnerships that it's going to take to better the quality of education. And then they're talking about a lot of stuff about our unemployment rate. They said that our city's unemployment rate is about 7%. But once you go into the inner city areas, that unemployment rate is way higher than that 7%. You know, you're looking at anywhere from 20% and up. So in order for us to start, before we start talking about affordable housing, talking about infill, we need to start talking about job creation and creating incentives for our men and women that live within our community to be able to start small-owned businesses. You know, there's all kind of incentives out there for people to build homes. You hear tax credits, and everybody wants to give out tax credits for the developers, which it does make a partnership between the city and does bring in the much-needed revenue that our city needs to deal with the pension problem. But the problems that are affecting our urban inner-city areas for way too long. I mean, I grew up on Chestnut Street, and all the stories that Mr. Mormon was talking about, I grew up in these areas. I grew up on Chestnut Street. I wasn't allowed to go in the projects. I wasn't allowed on Hawkins. A lot of times I wasn't even allowed off my porch. But once we got older, my Aunt Darlene, she's right here, she knows. But then once they tore down the projects, they tore down the projects in Charlotte Court. But then the wave of crime has hit every single side street within this district.
That's right.
So what are we going to do about it? We're going to need more people involved in community, working to better our community. You know, like I keep on saying that faith without works is dead, and so many people feel as though all they have to do is vote, and things are going to get better. But you have a lot of politicians willing to play the game of politics and tell the people what they want to hear, but then their actions don't back up what they say. So faith without works is dead. So if you feel as though you want to make a change, you need to be involved in the community no matter what it is. If you have a passion for helping women, we need it. Our women out here, the state that our women are in is shocking. And the thing that's shocking about it is that our men are the ones that's chasing the women. So if we can change the attitude of our women, the men will follow. So that's what my campaign is about. My campaign is more of a movement to inspire, uplift, and build the strong foundations that we need for our communities to have a successful future. So thank you. Whatever I can do to help, I've worked with several organizations, several committees to better the quality of life in Lexington. So if you have any questions, you need anything, I'm here. I know you see a lot of signage out there out front, but my campaign is all about being involved. So I don't need the signs with the people in the community because they know me due to my actions. I can't come out of my street, and it's not just in West End. I mean, this goes all the way to Madison Station, all the way down to White Castle. People know because of the work that, I'm not going to say because I don't like to claim it, that we've been doing to better the quality of life in our city. And that's what I plan on doing in or out of office. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Councilman Chris Ford from the 1st District, and I want to thank Ms. Tanya in the West End. W.E.C.E.P, as everybody knows it, Community Empowerment Project. I just want to share a few thoughts. This is going to be the last community forum I'm going to be a participant in, and I couldn't think of a better place to be today. I hope the football team has done well down at Douglas Park this afternoon. Just want to talk to you guys from the heart a little bit. See Councilman George Brown here. George, I appreciate you being here with us. Is that I'm just completing my first term, and many of you guys know that I'm not a native of Lexington. I came here 18 years ago, almost 20 years ago, played football over at UK, as George mentioned. But real fortunate that I've had the opportunity to call this community home. I kind of almost feel like a little more than a transplant, kind of like an adoptive son now. And I'm still learning, folks, still learning the rich history of our community. And just a few days ago, we were able down at City Hall to honor Mr. Harry Sykes. We're talking about the history and how it repeats itself, and the stories that he wasn't there. He's recovering from health issues, but his wife and his 5 kids were there, his 5 children. But he took a similar path, as many do, coming to this city, falling in love with it, and being welcomed by the natives of this city, such as Brannon and his family and everybody here. So I'm real thankful for that. We've had a lot of successes in our first term. Real excited about the opportunity to have the Charles Young Center back online. Real excited about the opportunities to continue to work out the kinks, so to speak, over at the Lyric Theater. A lot of folks may not know, though, that I have a great affection for the West End. A little story, and then I tell you actually how my participation in the community really started down the street at the park. When I came to UK in '94, the plaza was in full swing. And I now had the fortune, thanks to Coach Roach, late S.T. Roach, who helped recruit me onto the board at Robert H. Williams, and we got a lot of work to do down there, and we'll be successful. But there wasn't a fence, if I recall, on the grounds, and so everybody would park across the street and be to the plaza. Years later, I've been up in Douglas Park for about 7 years now. And my oldest boy is 13 years old, on his way to high school, but he was starting out as a 7-year-old. And the coaches, this talks about community involvement that we know is so important. The coaches knew I played football in UK, and they said, Chris, anytime you want to coach, come on. They said, we Day one, I stand on the fence line. Day two, I get a little bit closer. And eventually, I was out there helping those coaches do drills. And I became involved in coaching. And I've gotten to know a lot of the parents and a lot of our kids, and it's crazy seeing these kids that were 6 and 7 years old now going to high school, and some of those kids, they've gone there. My premise was that if I'm going to be in the park anyway, which I was going to be because my son was there, why not get involved? Why not get involved and help those kids whose parents may or may not have the opportunity to be there? We've had some progress. We got a long ways to go in this community and throughout the whole city of Lexington. We need more jobs. We need safety. Talking about that young football player who came from Florida. There's a lot of Florida guys when I came. We're not invincible. Young folks have this sense of you can run through a brick wall, you can make bad decisions. The only difference is that everything is amplified these days. Kids can't make the mistakes that we made and it not be glorified. They face a greater level of scrutiny these days. With all these advancements, they come back to kind of harm us sometimes. City council, if it's nothing, we cannot solve all the city's problems. We have an obligation to be leaders, though. And leaders don't sit quietly when we're confronted with crisis all around. I ask for your vote to continue to try to do some things on city council. And I'll say this. I think I've been and tried my very hardest to be a good leader. But no success that we will have, and Brannon mentioned the word we, no one councilman can do it by himself or herself. A councilman is only as strong as the people that stand behind them. And going back to the site celebration Thursday night, George will tell you the room was full. That's leadership. That's evidence to people standing behind leaders, those that want to sacrifice because we're trying to do the right thing. So the councilman can only be as strong as the people behind them. I thank you guys so very much for allowing yourselves to get to know me, and I look forward to knowing you guys a little bit more as we continue to do some things for the betterment of this city. I'd be glad to answer any questions.